you really rise to both on the I mean, like about you have to, there is a age gap. Is there a gap there or not? I have a feeling there is a big gap or not in the school.
All right, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started. I hope you're here for DOTS. You may want to step out just for last minute, get your coffee or your cookie. We have a somewhat full agenda to talk through some things. My name is Roman Dinelu, and you know Frank Shao, but he is now up on the stage here with us as a co-chair. Tobias will be stepping down after this meeting, so we're thrilled to have kind of Frank on the team here, pushing our working group through some progress. It's late in the week. Hopefully you've seen this note well. It references a number of policies related to code of conduct, copyright, patents, and privacy policy like things. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask the working group chair or the AD. Administratively, we have the blue sheets getting passed around. Chris Ignacio is going to be our Jabber scribe, and taking notes is Jessica and Daniel. Thank you so much for doing that for us. The agenda we have here for you today is slightly tuned from what was sent on the mailing list. We had some late-breaking ads to talk about implementation experience, and then some commentary about some possible mods to the Signal channel. We're going to have both in-person and remote participants, which has historically worked really well for us. So before we get into some of the details, we have a lot of documents in different kind of status, and we've been talking about what next steps were. Frank and I wanted to summarize that for the working group and have a conversation about whether this seems right and whether this is the best way to proceed. So we've gone through working group last call and closed issues related to the requirements document. And at this point, we have a Shepherd write-up prepared, and we're going to be advancing that document. Thank you, Frank, for doing kind of that write-up. So Ben, we're going to be sending that to you. With the architecture draft, we're a little late, and that's on the chairs. We're going to start a working group last call starting on Monday, as we had planned in previous discussions. Then as we talk about use case, signal, and data channel, we have time for each one of those drafts on the agenda. But to kind of lay it out, we think from the chair's perspective, from at least early conversations with the editor team, that the use case is almost ready for its Shepherd kind of write-up. It's going to likely take one more version to process last call. Then with the signal draft, it's been many months of processing feedback. There's still a little bit more on the mailing list. We feel that's going to take another working group last call, and we can talk about that. And then the data channel is close. There's one identified issue, and we believe that can likely go to working group last call in September. So I was going to ask for reactions. Fleming, thank you.
Yeah, Fleming Andreasen. So the architecture draft, we have a couple of pending changes there, actually. So we might want to just hold off a little bit on the working group last call, but we'll try to get those updates in,
Okay, fair enough. So what are you thinking? Oh, okay.
Time-wise, what are we thinking?
I just need to send it to
2 weeks?
So frankly, staggering the dates is better.
Andrew Mortensen, sorry. Yeah, we just need to cover a little bit more on the NAT considerations. What's there right now is a little bit shallow.
Okay.
And we've been going back and forth privately, but we should have something soon. August.
Okay. So you would prefer to have that as the basis of the working group last call?
Yes.
Okay. We can wait. Again, that actually works to our benefit. There's a lot of documents, and I don't think we have the bandwidth to go through working group last call. So we can talk as we cover the use case, the signal draft, and the data channel. We can cover the specifics of what makes most sense. We didn't have an explicit slot for requirements and architecture, so thank you for bringing that up to date. So let me flash the agenda kind of back up. Would anyone like to bash what we have planned here now that we have some of the logistics stuff sorted out? Are we comfortable with what's planned here? Okay, I'm taking that as a no. Okay, so we'll proceed. So first up, as is our tradition, let's talk about the running code we have for all the drafts we're going to be talking about. So first up, we're going to be talking about our hackathon. So Konami, thanks so much. Turning it over to you. Can I give you the clicker, please?
Oh, thank you.
And
Okay, thank you for introduction. I'm Kanami Nishizuka from IETF Communications. I'll make a presentation about the report of the interop testing, which was done on the hackathon this time. So here is the hackathon plan. So actually, we started the hackathon from IETF 99, and we are participating it consecutively. So at the first hackathon, we did only the implementation of one OSS, which is from NTT. Then at the IETF 100, we did the first interoperability testing with NTT and NCC group, partly from Huawei. But it is only limited to the signal channel. But this time in IETF 102 hackathon, we did the first data channel interrupt. So I can say both signal channel and data channel are covered and also checked with the real implementation. And also, I'd like to mention that actually NTT and NCC group did 2 internal interrupt as a preparation for the IETF 102 hackathon. So here's the diagram of interrupt testing. So on the one side, there is a Godot from NTT, which is the OSS implementation running on AWS server. Then on the other end, NCC group's implementation, which is in London and running on proprietary production mitigation box. Then we communicated each other on both signal channel and data channel. Then as .client, Godot did mitigation request and session configuration of a signal channel, and also used the data channel for the registration of client aliases, ACLs, and also did capability discovery. Then the NCC group's implementation worked as the .server. Then it did the DDoS mitigation actions. Also, vice versa, we did the test with NCC groups .client and Godot.server. Then we tested the same things in other direction. So here is the summary of the interrupt testing. Then, okay, I will dig into the details in the later slides. But you may see that the green cells represent the tested elements in the IETF 101, and blue cells represent the tested elements in this IETF 102. So you may see that the test coverage was enhanced significantly. So first I'll move on to the data channel result. So on the data channel, here's the evaluated features. So for registration of those client areas and filtering rules, we did a test of these methods like post, put, get, delete of these elements. And also we did retrieve of the capabilities with get method. Then here is the result. Then all of the test is checked as green, so checked with this check mark. So actually the result was good. Then several issues are found, so those are already reported to the working group. So this is the summary. So actually message exchange over REST conf of TLS is very stable. So I can say that there is no problem with such transport. But we fixed several bugs about the message format itself on each side. So among them, for issues with the data channel draft were raised to the working group during the hackathon, and all of issues on the repository of GitHub of met. Then, okay, and also I can say that only minor issues are found except for fragment bits in ACL. So I explained the 4 issues. Okay, first one is a very tiny issue, just a clarification of ambiguity about the text in the 6.1 create aliases. So in that text, the one of these attributes like target prefix, target FQDN, and target URI must be present in put request, but it post request, but it must be existing in post and also put. So just updated the text. And second one is about pending lifetime in the response if the URI query is aliases content config. So pending lifetime is defined as a config false. So if with content config, it should not be included in the response of get. But so the text was included those pending lifetime. So text was updated to use config all in order to show that all of elements should be included. Okay, so that's the fix of the text. And so the next one is about what get returns for the content non-config. So in RFC 8040, which is a RESTconf RFC, it says that if content parameter is set to non-config, note that configuration, ancestor, and list key leaf are also returned. So name of ACL alias should be also returned because it is leaf keys. So that is already written in RFC 8040, so there's no need to update the data channel draft itself, but I need to mention that as an implementation guideline, we need to see and read the RFC 8040 carefully. Okay, then the issue number 2, fragment bits representation is the most important one. Then for IPv4 fragmentation, the current draft says it should be represented as a bit type. So it includes the name of bits like Mora in the flags leaf. Then bits name should be in the one string with space separated format. Then for IPv6, the type is empty, so it should be represented as this. But this is not IPv6 case is not difficult, but for IPv4 there is a problem like this. So the current draft says okay. Okay, thanks a lot. Then this is for the last fragment. Flags is kind of the null strings, but can it be used for the representation of the last fragment? So intuitively that is not only the more bit is 0, but also it says that other bits like reserved bits and don't fragment bits should be 0 because undefined bits in if there is an undefined bit, it should be represented as 0 in RC 7951. So that is difficult to represent the fragment in this format. So the question is how best to represent a fragment filtering rule with net mode ACL or its enhancement. So for me, BGP flow spec like representation for fragment is fit for my feelings, but we should discuss about this. But discussion will be should be in the later made presentation or not here or
Whatever makes sense.
okay. Let's move on to the next. So we will discuss about this fragment bits representation, but this is important, so I need to make emphasis on this issue. So for signal channel, we evaluated these features. So these category of features is myself. So if you have some objection to the categorization, please let me know. But in this categorization, we can say that I can say that these specifications like session configuration, mitigation request, cupping, observe of mitigation, session config, and efficacy update, and request confliction handling and confliction notified is a core specification because without them we cannot execute the DDoS mitigation from DOTS client to DOTS server. But for these features like deadman trigger, gateway function, redirection, and happy eyeballs, we can do the minimum mitigation request without those features. So I dare say that those are additional specifications. So among the 8 core specifications, we tested the 6 specifications in this interop testing. So this is a summary of the testing of signal channel interrupt. So there are several bugs. So several bugs are found on both sides, but those bugs are already fixed during the hackathon and even after the hackathon. So this summary result shows some of cells marked with triangle, but this triangle mark represents that buggy status at the hackathon, but actually it is now fixed. So we tested the signal channel with based on the latest specification. Then 2 issues are raised, but these issues are already fixed. So the first one is about missing mandatory lifetime in example figure 7 and 8. So this is just an editorial need. So lifetime is actually mandatory attribute, but it is not. It did not exist in the mitigation request figure, so it was already added. So it's already fixed. Then the second one is about signal channel 4.5.3. Configuration freshness and notification. So I explain this shortly. The DOTS server needs to be able to update the signal channel configuration parameters. So DOTS server and DOTS client need to agree on the signal channel configuration. So it needs to be able to update it. And then DOTS client can do the put to refresh the configuration. So it overrides the DOTS server's configuration signal channel configuration. So then DOTS client need to do get to refresh the agreed configuration within the max edge time. So DOTS signal channel draft didn't mention about these features, so the draft is not updated. So again, this issue is already fixed. So this is a wrap up of the presentation. So as takeaway, I can say successful interop tests are continuing. Then core specification of DOTS is now mature enough, not only for signal channel, but also for data channel. Then several issues are found during the hackathon, but they are not so significant, so they've been sorted out and fixed. Then we have two implementations. One is OSS. The repository is here on the GitHub from NTT named GoDots, and one proprietary from NCC groups, which will be the production level. Then we need more implementation. So we say more implementations are welcome. Then we'd like to do the kind of exhaustive interop testing in the next IETF or sooner. Okay, this is the report of our hackathon's results. Thank you very much.
Questions for the hackathon team? So on behalf of the chairs, we want to thank the hackathon team for doing everything they did this past kind of weekend. I know there's been a lot of focus in previous events on the signal channel draft, which we know has improved the quality of the document. Now that the fact that you focused on the data channel helped tremendously. We hadn't previously done that, and you've clearly found issues. So to the editor team of the signal and data channel document, thanks again for revving again in preparation for this meeting. So all of your work on GoDots, and I think, John, you're listening with NCC Group with your implementation, you're really advancing these drafts and letting us get to closure. So thank you again for all your hard work. Any final questions?
Ooh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just wait a minute. I have a question to the signal channel and data channel author. I have seen that you have done a very recent latest of these two documents, right? In this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is this updated, incorporated Kanami's ensues?
Yeah, exactly.
They
So-
all reflect to the latest document.
Yeah. All the
Okay.
issues that Kanami
Yeah.
raised, we discussed them, and we fixed the document. We updated them so that there is no confusion about the because most of the issues are not that major. It's only about clarification and needs. Some of them could be just to leave the technicalities, but as an editor, I preferred to modify it so that there is someone else cannot misinterpret the text and so on. So that I really appreciate the work which is done by by Kanami and the team, because it's helped us to assess that what we are putting in the document is really can be implemented and its validity. So thank you all for this work.
Yeah, thank you. Not only I, also John did much work on the interop testing, and I and John raised issues based on the interop results.
Yeah. So I have only one clarification question. One question about the behavior of the implementation. Given that I have seen one question from Andrew about the mitigational loss. Yeah. So just to make sure there is no confusion about that one. How your implementation is behaving right now? When you activate you have the parameter which is trigger on loss, which is enabled. How do you accept the mitigation coming from the client, or you discard them?
Oh, sorry.
There is one open question,
which
I can let Andrew clarify the point.
I think Mehta is referring to the issue around the dead man's trigger, which I'm not sure you guys have actually tested. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, it's not. No, it's not tested, because dead man's trigger is okay. Okay, for me, it's not implemented, but we need to ask about that, John. But I'm thinking about which mitigation should be activated based on the result of that no signal. So that
I
must be
dropped a
question.
message on the
Yeah.
mailing list about this.
Yeah.
only an hour or so before the meeting, which wasn't fair, but that's okay.
So I see John has jumped in the queue. So John,
Yeah, can you hear me?
we can.
Yep. Okay. So, yeah, well, I have the my interpretation was that the dead man trigger was there if there was a loss of signal heartbeats between the server and the client, and then the server could then initiate whatever he needed to initiate to start mitigation as a consequence of the dead man's trigger. But following Andrew's email that came out about an hour ago, I realized that we don't actually have anything in place for what should happen to start the mitigation. Does it just take over, or does it have some predefined kind of environment? Or it's nothing is clear as to what actually should happen when the dead man's trigger kicks in. So we're missing a part on that. But certainly it's not that if that is not set in the signal channel, mitigations are held until it is set true in the signal channel. That was not my interpretation of the original text.
Yes, so because what we have done in the signal channel is that we, in order to avoid having redundant specification of the loss channel, what we the authoritative text for us is that we just pointed to the section in the architecture. So I don't know, I didn't read the latest version of the architecture, so that's we have to make sure that whether to import all the text and put it on the signal channel or to leave the text as it is right now. So we can discuss the point.
Could I ask a clarifying question? Because I clearly did not track that change in the signal channel. So we are going to point from the standards track back to an informational for a normative thing? I misunderstood.
What we have said, we have the parameter there, and what we said, the full description of the behavior, C section 10 on the architecture. For me, that's just fine.
That sounds fine. Sorry, I didn't understand.
But my question is that if we think that we will avoid confusion, perhaps, but this is an open question, we just need to copy the most point from the architecture and put it into the signal channel, even if this is not my favorite, but it's to answer to your issue. It's up to you to let us know. Yeah, that's really it. So for me, it's okay. The current text is okay because I'm pointing to the architecture. But if you think that this is not the way to go, and if you prefer that we add few sentences there, this is something that can be done.
Yep. Sorry, Andrew Mortensen. I think the issue for me really is that we don't have it defined what mitigation is, the scope of the mitigation actually is on the dead man's trigger. We can say that it takes place on loss of signal in the architecture draft, but then there's no way to tell the server currently, based on the specification in the signal channel, what that scope should be.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Konami.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so next up, we were going to transition from the implementation work at the hackathon to other implementation work that's happening. So first up, Yuhei from NTT was going to talk about a particular intra-domain orchestration use case with GoDots. So Yuhei, we're pulling up your slides. Okay, Yuhei, are you ready? There we go. Okay.
I'm Yuhei Hayashi from NTT. Thank you for choosing to give me presentation slot. Today, I want to make a presentation about the POC report of intra-domain DDoS orchestration use case. And I want to discuss what DOTS should be for carrier network providers. First of all, I will explain brief summary of this presentation. Next, please. At first, I will introduce our motivation and demonstration. Then, I will explain our requirement about DOTS signal. At the next slide, I will explain our motivation. Next, please. In the future, we want to automate DDoS mitigation in intra-domain network with an orchestrator. The orchestrator automates like collecting information from flow collectors and DDoS mitigation systems and deciding what to do and ordering PE routers or DDoS mitigation systems to mitigate DDoS attack. We also want to use a standardized interface between the orchestrator and the security products. In IETF100, So I went to Singapore and investigated security automation working groups, and I got to know about a DOTS working group. So we want to try DOTS as a standardized interface between the orchestrator and the flow collectors or DDoS mitigation systems. From next slides, I want to explain about the POC. Next, please. This figure shows a POC overview. Left one is our POC use case, and right one is a DDoS orchestration use case written in the draft. In our POC use case, we assumed that the DOTS has a DOTS client functions so that it sends DOTS signal to DOTS server as offload request. After that, the orchestrator order to P router to carry out a black hole routing. Next, please. This figure shows environment at the POC. Intra-domain network consists of two types of networks, a core network and scrubbing center. Core network consists of two P routers, and the scrubbing center consists of a flow collector, orchestrator, a DDoS mitigation system, and GRE endpoint router. In this environment, we assumed that the flow collector and the DDoS mitigation systems was a DOTS client. About DOTS server, we deployed DOTS server VM with Go.DOTS server on the orchestrator. On the other hand, about DOTS client, there were no commercial products which implemented DOTS client function. So we deployed DOTS client VM for the flow collector and DDoS mitigation systems on the orchestrator. Each DOTS client VM has some functions. Afferent D is a parser which transforms syslog of the flow collector or the DDoS mitigation system into input of Go.DOTS client controller. The Go.DOTS client controller controls Go.DOTS client, and Go.DOTS client send DOTS signal to Go.DOTS server. From next slides, we explain about how it works. Next, please. First of all, a P router sends net flow to the flow collector. Next, please. When the flow collector detects volume attack, it sends syslog to the DOTS client VM as a DOTS mitigation request. After that, in DOTS client VM, friend D extracts target IP address from the syslog and makes a JSON file as the input of the Go.DOTS client controller. Then, the Go.DOTS client controller is invoked so that the Go.DOTS client sends DOTS signal to the Go.DOTS server. Next, please. The Go.DOTS server invokes a Go BGP, and attack traffic is redirected to DDoS mitigation system via P router. Next, please. After that, when DDoS mitigation system detects attack in detail, it sends syslog to DOTS client VM as offload request. Then these systems act same as before. Next, please. Finally, the Go.DOTS server invokes Go BGP and P router block attack traffic by a black hole routing. That's all of action of our POC. From next slides, we will explain our requirement. So far, in our POC, we use black hole routing at the P router. However, in the future, we want to use BGP flow spec to block attack traffic at P routers more correctly. So we want to DOTS clients to send attacker information like top talker. For IETF103, I think I want to write draft about expansion of DOTS signal. That's all of my questions. Next, please. I have two questions. First is, does our POC use case attract you? Second one is, if it does, what do you think about our requirement? I want to discuss it. Thank you for your attention. Any question?
I invite folks to the mic.
Hi, Andrew Mortensen. So is the question whether you can send that information, the top talkers, over the signal channel or over the data channel?
I think signal channel.
Okay, so the ACLs in the data channel are not sufficient, or you're concerned about bandwidth?
So far, I don't think not a data channel, but a signal channel.
Okay, maybe this is a conversation we can take to the mailing list then.
Yep. Ned, right.
Yeah, I think this is a valid question. This is a question which we received several times to add more information into the signal channel. And what we have decided so far is to maintain the signal channel to, I would say, the mandatory information to be included there. So once the signal channel is frozen and sent, then we can open the discussion about the new information to be included in the signal channel, but this will be really extension that optional to have and not as what we have in the current signal channel.
Hi, Nick Teague. No, the use case is interesting. And this alludes to what I was kind of like thinking earlier when I was reading through the signal channel, and the fact that we kind of mentioned vendor extensions twice, and then we just gloss over it, we don't really say anything else. So I think from rather than have it as vendor extensions, we might want to just change it to extensions of some description or optional extensions or not specify vendor. But it might give us the option to then like stuff in here whatever we want to do, but at the same time we need to be able to stuff it in without breaking anything else or anything like that. But then again, I think it does say in the signal channel that anything should be ignored. But I think it's interesting in that. And I would agree with Med that if we freeze the signal channel at a certain point and then you build it into other drafts or other functionality within that, we've already built the extensibility in there. And it's just a case of defining what you want to do and bringing that into new documents. But I think it's really cool, yeah.
Frank Xia, Huawei. Thanks, Yuhei. You bring this, your poke and your requirements to here. Yes, I think that's a real, that this requirement makes sense, and maybe in future we can do some extension to current protocol to solve it. So my individual, from my individual comments is that if you want to bring this new work to this working group, please write a draft to describe your use case and the requirements so that we can track we can have more discussion and more, maybe we can return in the next stage. But current stage, I think our most important work is to wrap up our current protocol and provide a stable and basic DOT protocol. But anyway, in the future, yeah, that's totally impossible. Possible. Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Nick Teague again. No, I just wanted to say that I don't think you should. There's nothing stopping you from putting this into a draft now, though, as far as everything goes. If you want to do it, we might consider it to be the next consideration or something. But while we're getting everything else sorted out, but at the same time, it'd be nice to have stuff sitting there waiting to work on. So if you wanted to start rolling it out now, as far as getting documents out and done drafts, why not?
So I wanted to pull the working group on this thread, as Frank could have alluded to. This conversation has come up before about wanting to do extensions. And, at the mic, I heard something that I guess is a little too vague for me. We've talked about let's get the core thing done and then we can kind of have extensions. But what does that practically mean to folks kind of here in the room? I mean, are we talking about we want to embed an extension hook into the current protocol, and then we're going to have more drafts that tell us, how to hook that in, or are we going to release a 1.1? What's the feeling in the room here?
Hey, Nick Teague. Well, I think when we first started this, we always kind of had extensibility as part of the one of the reasons we were doing it, or one of the attributes. And I think from every kind of like variation that we've put together of protocol standard, protocol candidates always had some kind of extensibility in there. Now the one we have has a bunch of stuff already there. We're just hand waving over it as being there, but we've made room for it. So I don't think it's so much a case of 1.1. I think it's a case of like we're just defining how you could use the stuff that's there. It's just we don't really call it out much at the minute.
Yui, did you want to say something? I'm sorry, Chris, were you saying what? Okay.
So, Daniel Miguel Erickson. So I think a protocol needs to have some extensions, but we should really think about which extension we're going to go through, because if you see what makes a protocol successful is that it's been extendable, but when you see why a protocol is dying is that when you have a bunch of uncontrolled extensions. So I think that's where the discussion has to take place, which extension we're going through, and find the right one that is fitting all the use cases we want to address.
Andrew Mortensen again. I will say that more implementations would make me feel more comfortable about the possibility of extensions.
And so I'll drop this. Roland. Roland, we see in the queue. Let me finish. I mean, one of the things that we may want to. Yue, did you want to respond?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I want to write the expansion of DOTS signal channels, and I will send working group mails. So I want to I want to take some comments from you. That's all.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you, Yue. So what do we do next? Roland, you're up. Roland, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Roland, I may have just booted you out. Oh, never mind. Got it. Okay, we'll close the conversation here, but I mean, we are having a recurring conversation about extensions, and I mean, I'll put something again on the mailing list to discuss, but I think it would behoove us to have some text somewhere or some guidance that we can point to that would govern how we want to handle this in the future, but I think we need to flesh this out a little more, so we'll take it to the mailing list. Okay, Yu, thank you for your presentation. We have a little bit of time left just for open mic. If folks with implementations that already exist want to talk about progress they've made, or if someone here in the room or in MeetEcho would like to surface the existence of another implementation that we haven't previously learned about. So open mic time, if you want to talk about running code you have.
Hi, Andrew Mortensen. We've made some progress internally with the AIO co-op-based version, and we're also now experimenting with additional languages with the intention of bringing some a variety to the foundations of the frameworks that are being used. Currently, I believe it's all libcoap-based. Yes, Kaname is nodding. So we're hoping to at least bring some of that forward as open source, and are also potentially looking for some interop opportunities in other venues in the future. So. I would be eager to hear of additional implementers aside from John and Kaname.
Okay, so you heard it here. That was Arbor Networks. Anyone else want to talk about an implementation they have, they're planning, or is in flight? Okay, with that, let's move on into our agenda. So next up, we are going to talk about the signal channel. So Med, the floor is yours.
Okay, so this will be a quick update of the signal channel specification. So as you know, last time, so it was in end of March or April, there was a working group last call that was issued for this the document. I was very happy about the outcome of that working group last call, because this only shown that we have only minor issues and only clarifications to be added to the document. So this is a signal for us that we are close to a stable version of the document. So this is only the I am listing there some of the main point that we received at that time. So this is only clarifications there about the URIs to be used. this is something which is, we added explicit sentences to the document to make it sure that people we understand that we are using these URL schemes, because we are just, in the beginning, we are just pointing to the RFCs in which is defined. We enhanced the loop behavior in the document. So again, when there is a loop which is detected somewhere by the gateway, what now the behavior is that we are asking each gateway to insert its own information, and then it will prepend it to other gateways, so that this will simplify and is a diagnostic if there is any troubleshooting to be done. Another modification was about the redirect signal in there. So we, in the beginning, we assumed that the server knows what it is doing. That means that if there is a request to a client to redirect to another server, we are assuming that there is some configurations which is done at the server. But we figured out that in case there are some misconfiguration between there, we introduce this guard in order to avoid the oscillation between multiple servers. For instance, if you receive a signal from a given server to you that you have to redirect to another server, and then right after you receive another signal from that server that you go back to the other one, so this will be something which is buggy. So that's why we introduced this guard about the 5 minutes, that we forbid that you can go back to the previous server unless this lifetime is expired. We also clarified the way we are using the TTL there for redirection. So redirection can be can last forever or can be limited in time. So this is something that we are conveying in the TTL parameter. And also we have introduced there some sentences to say to we are disrecommending against returning short TTLs for redirection, because this will impact the stability of the service. This is the outcome of a discussion we had about a point that was raised by Kanami. It's about the behavior when there's a conflict. Before, in the previous version, we only return a conflict there, but the Kanami raised a valid point, is that you cannot send back an update of this situation if you don't create the resource. So that's why we updated the behavior. Again, it is still policy based, but it's up to the server to decide whether it has to return the created code or the conflict code. This is the last change that we have implemented in the latest version as an outcome of the interrupt meeting. This is mainly minor modifications. There, it's about the example that we have fixed, and also the a one-word change that we added in the draft. So this is for the chairs.
Yeah, so I take full responsibility for this. In the handoff with Tobias, I lost the bubble on this, and I need to find out where we stand. At this point, honestly, the early registration this is less germane, given that we are about to submit this document, but I will nevertheless check the action.
Yeah, it's always fine to close the action to make sure that we make some progress on that one.
Yes.
So what next? So this slide. So when I prepared the slides, this is before Andrew raised the point about the mitigation loss. So yeah, so it's Andrew. It's up to you to. Yeah, really. So that's whether we proceed with the plan that we agree to together. That means that next week there will be another last call of the document. It will last only 1 week or 2 weeks. 1 week.
We're going to do kind of 2 weeks. One of the things that the core working group has asked is, hey, you're using CoApp. That's great. Actually, after this meeting, I'm going to go remind everyone, and I'm going to beg the working group to put eyes on it. And I'm hopeful that I'm not necessarily expecting to find anything, but if nothing else, I'm hoping this will grease the process through IESG, given that we've had more eyes to look on it. So my hope, if that's okay, setting the date, we could start the working group last call starting on Monday and kind of run it kind of a customary 2 weeks. And that way we can, start from, we think we fixed absolutely everything. We have a clean document. Does anyone have any last kind of comments on this? And then we can move forward.
Yeah, that's really great.
Okay. feedback from Ed on the signal draft. All right, that's good news.
Okay.
Very good.
So,
Thank
yeah,
you
for the, I don't know if you have a discussion with the core chairs. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, because we have raised an errata because we contacted them multiple times, the authors or the co-op RFC and also for the CBOR, we clarified some of the points with Carlson. But there's one errata which we opened there, and I didn't heard any feedback from them. It's about the token for the observed case and so on. But anyway, it's up to them to manage the errata. But it's just to let you know that we already get in touch with them for some of the points. So you should not be surprised to see this specification.
No, they didn't indicate surprise. They actually indicated that they wanted to help, and they invited us just to come to the working group meeting and just remind everyone that there is another co-op protocol that's in another working group, and offer to put some eyes on it. And so we're just going to do a little advertising at the next session. So thank you for the heads up.
Okay. One question, one comment. Could you return one page? This one. Kadamini Shizuka from NTT Communications. So about the first bullet, I know why this change is required, and also I know the thread discuss about this issue, but I just feel that this updated text is not friendly to the new readers of this draft. So I feel some of explanation of the context, which was discussed in the mailing list, should be included in the why the put is replaced with get, and also why it is get. So
okay, so you think that the how we fix the point is not?
Yeah. So for me, the term of refresh is not quite clear for me. For a new reader. So.
Yeah, because in document I don't remember where in which part of the document we explain what we mean by refresh. Refresh is that you update something, and then so you receive the configuration. You have the max age option, which indicate the lifetime for this configuration, and you have to contact the server before the expiry of that max option to refresh it. Refresh it, that means that you are sending that you are sending a sign of life that you are there, and you will retrieve the new configuration from the server. So it's if you think that this is not clear in the new text, so just let me know which part, and then we can work that as part of the working group last call that will start. Next week.
I'll write some text about that.
Maybe Kanami, you can help to provide some text.
Yeah, because actually, for this change, I am personally fine with the previous text that we have, but I decided to change it because for the implementation, I received from John that he has some confusion. When I read the text, I don't see the origin of the confusion, but even for that, with that, I decided to modify the text to avoid this confusion. So if you think that this is still not better, or if there is a room for enhancement, please feel free to propose text and proposals for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So next on the agenda is Bo Yang from China Mobile is going to be talking about an extension to the signal draft. So if you could step into the mic while we switch slides here. Okay. Bo, if you want to step into the queue.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Hello? Can you hear me?
If you're speaking, we can't hear you, Bo.
Okay. Actually,
Hi, Boyan. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very clear.
Oh, your voice is very low. Can you increase volume?
Let me try to. Actually, I'm in a place to
Bo, that's still very quiet. We can't hear you.
Hello?
Oh, that is much better. Thank you.
Okay. I must go very near to the mic in my book. Okay, so this is a very short discussion about the intention of this presentation is not just introduce some trouble to the group, but because we know that we are almost in the time of the last call of the signal, but because this is a requirement from us, we want to have a type for the DOS, so that we can make some changes to we can make some better performance to the mediation server and the arrangement of the resource. So this is what we intentioned. Actually, can you please, Frank, display the slides?
Sure.
Thank you.
So we're on the second slide, Bo.
Where can I see the slides?
Okay, now we are in the second page. Is in your agenda page. So please continue your introduction.
Okay, just a moment. Let me open that. Agenda.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay.
But I cannot see the agenda. I cannot see the.
You cannot see the slides?
Yes.
And the
slide. Sorry. Just give me 1 minute. Let me download that.
So, Bo, I mean, we can see the slides in the room here, and other MediaEcho participants are saying they can see it. So if you just can have a local copy of the slides and you send us the slides, so you have the same thing we have, and we can just kind of flip through it.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
So we are on.
So from
you're displaying slide 3 that reads background right now.
Yes. For the background is that we in our work we do find that if we have some type defined, it will be very better for the resource arrangement. But actually, it's not very easy to give a very because there are many DOS types. It's not very easy to give all the types defined now, because we will have the new type of DOS. Excuse me, I did not have the slide copy. I must have 1 minute to get it now.
The local coding, so we need 1 minute to prepare. We can change his order. Had he prepared where? Yes. Hi, Bo. If you still need some time to prepare your local copy, maybe we can switch your order later. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we go to other topics now, and you are the next one. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. If you prepared well, you can let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the swap, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yeah, so this is a bit of the data channel. So there will be a bit about the progress status and the pending issues, and then the next steps. So this is just as a reminder of the list of issues that we have discussed last time in London and also in the mailing list. I won't go into all of them. So it's only to report that the outcome of the discussion about the resolution that we have for each of these issues have been implemented in the 14th version of the document. Yes, Roman?
No, and I was just going to jump in. So if you're seeing MED kind of come up with numbers to things, that's because we have explicitly asked in the case of the various documents just to help us track all the issues and kind of to number them so we know when we got closure. So we thank you very much for doing that.
So then where is the 15 versions there? So the main modification in that version is that we in the discussion I had with John, we figured out that in the NetMod working group access list specification, they have some flags there for the IPv4 handling of the fragments, but for IPv6 this is not something which is really clear. So we liaised with the NetMod working group and also the author of the NetMod specification to make sure about our interpretation of the specifications. So the outcome of that discussion is that they don't handle IPv6 fragment in the current NetMod Young model. So as an outcome of that, there is no modification that we included into the data channel specification. But we added an example in an appendix to show to the readers how you can use our data channel for the filtering of the IPv6 fragments. For the IPv4, we completely relied on the NetMod specifications, so that basically on the flags. But later on, we found another issue with that I will explain later on. And then we raised another update of the draft. Mainly, it's about clarifications and to fix some of the issue that was reported by the implementers, mainly John for that version. And the latest version is about it's about to fix some of the point that was raised by Konami as an output of the interop and the hackathon. So as you see, this is basically very few changes there that are worth to be implemented, and we have done in the 17th version. We have one pending issues there. It's about IPv4 fragmentation. Actually, with the example we have in the draft, we are just fine with the current use of the NetMod module. But the problem is that if you want, for instance, to have a filtering rule in which you want only to apply some of the filtering only based, for instance, on the last fragment, you cannot do that with the current NetMod specification, because it is not a bit mask, but it is a set of flags there. And for instance, if you want that only the last fragments will be dropped, and then if you set the flags to null, for instance, it will drop also the packet that are not fragmented. This is also the same issue that you have if you have, for instance, a packet in which is the don't fragment is set, and in your rule you are just checking that the more bit is set or is unset, the packet with the don't fragment will go through, while this should not be the appropriate behavior. So this is why we are proposing to update the data channel specification to have this kind of bit mask capability rather than the current flag based behavior that they have in the NetMod working group. Actually, this applies not only for the fragment, but also for the TCP flags. But I'm not putting it here because we have to decide whether we have to generalize this for the TCP flags and also for the IPv4 flags there. And there is a point that was raised that we need to go back to the NetMod working group so that they can fix their module there. But the issue is that they are already sent in their document to the ASG, and the discussion I have with Mahesh is that they don't want to have this kind of features in their module. So I prefer that we fix that in our document rather than just going back to them to have this dependency. So that's the plan for the proposal for the fragmentation. And if we would like to hear from the working group whether you agree with that or not.
So just to make sure everyone understands, this is one of the blockers to finishing this document. So if you have opinions, the authors would very much benefit from it.
Yeah.
Andrew Mortensen, I support this proposal. If we do ever have this corrected in NetMod, we can just rev the version of the protocol.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the NetMod team will accept, but I like the representation in the BGP flow spec in RCP 5575 because I, as a dot server, I will convert the dot message into the flow spec message in order to stop the DDoS attacks. So the BGP flow spec itself has a representation of the fragment and flags with masks. So so I like maybe about the enhancement of the representation.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so that's the plan that we are proposing for this draft, is that we to prepare an updated version in which we will fix this fragmentation. And for the TCP flags, I don't know if you want us to cover it in the next revision so that we have the same behavior for both TCP flags and also the IP flags, or if you want us only to focus on the IPv4 flags only, because this will require 2 modifications. For the TCP one, is not we don't have use case for right now, but it's the same problem. So I don't know what. Yes, Frank.
Is there anyone who proposed this kind of requirement, for the filtering rule? Or maybe if there is not now, maybe we can raise some question. You can raise some question on the main list to solicit other people's opinion if we need it here or not, right?
Okay, so we have some folks in the Meet Echo queue.
Hello.
So, Bo, you're up.
Yes. Excuse me for that, because I did not take my. Hello. Can you hear me?
Okay, there you are. Yeah, we can hear you now. You were breaking up there earlier.
Okay. Excuse me for that, because I did not take my laptop to my home. So I did not have all the things. It's really a mistake for me. So let me have a quick introduction about what we consideration. Actually, the DOS attacks can be generated in different ways, different mechanisms.
Hi, bro. Right now, we are discussing the DOS data channel document, and you are the next presentation.
Sorry.
So yeah, if you have any comments, you can talk. If it's not,
no, mistake.
Yeah.
I make some mistake. It's not okay.
Okay, just wait a minute. Okay.
Okay, John.
Okay, so just picking up the TCP flag situation, we can specify something like the SYN and the FIN flag in their mask, saying we want to drop that type of attack. But again, the issue is if the attacker then adds in any other bit, using the current bits implementation of NetMod ACL, that will bypass that particular ACL and go on to the next ACL. So I think I would also like to see the ability to have the bits and the mask capability of the TCP flags. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Other feedback? Okay, so kind of rolling things up. Thank you for the briefing, kind of Med. We have a little bit of an issue still to resolve. We're going to clear that in -18. When we have -18, we're going to go work group last call on this document. is the agreed plan. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so let's loop back. Bo, we're going to bring your talk back up here. If you could re-enter the queue. Bo, we have you on slide 3 where we left off on your presentation. Perfect. We see you coming in.
Excuse me.
Okay, we have you speaking.
Actually, from our we can are we now in the page 3? Hello.
Yes, we are on slide 3, Bo.
So we do think that those attacks can be formed in different ways. Different mechanisms is required to use different mutation method. Actually, from our information, we do have 3 types of definition. Is the network layer. We will have SMP. For transport layer, we have TCP, UDP, and so on. Application layer, we have so many kind of. Different vendors have different viewpoints on clarification. DOS, which lead to some networking issues, especially when we want to have a cloud or have a resource pool. It's not very easy to do some interworking or to do some resource arrangement. So this is the issue why we want to have the type in the DOS signal channel. So next slide, please. Okay, so we have a definition according to the so many vendors feedback and our practice. From this, we have the three subset. The first is about the layer. Which layer? It's network, transport, or application. For protocol, we used as a second information, and the third we have the attack types, and then we have the attack subtypes. This is what we used in our network. We try to have all the vendors to rearrange their DOS type using this table. Next slide, please. I think we are in page 6. We do think some benefits for DOS type in DOS. First is for the DOS client. It's very easy to get DOS type from the attacked target because it's very easy to, because it have been suffered from the DOS. It will have very detailed information about what kind of the attack it suffered. And it will help make the decision which server to send the DOS mitigation requirement, because we have the one client to N server connections. And for the DOS gateway, it will help to aggregation of the same type of attack for more efficiency communication. And it will help the DOS gateway to have the information about the network status and help to analyze the statistics. And for DOS server, it will help to orchestrate their mitigation on demand. Although it's for the communication between the DOS server and the mitigator is out of scope, but actually it will help for doing that. So with the DOS type included in DOS signaling, the shared information between client and the gateway and the server, each node shall have more information about the DOS attacks. New business model can even be set up easily. Next slide, please. Actually, this is my current consideration about how can we work with the signal is that we introduce a DOS type node in the YARN model. And next slide, please. As I mentioned, because we are for the signal draft, we are almost at the last call stage. We can discuss, and if time allow, we can discuss and refine the current DOS type before it is included into the draft. If we do not have time slot, we wish it can be included in the next one. That's all. Thank you. Hello.
No, we're here. Thanks, Bo. Comments from the floor? Okay. I see Roland in the queue. Bo, I'm gonna drop you so Roland can speak. Roland, please. If you're speaking, we can't hear you, Roland. Chris, could you put it, if Roland's on Jabber, could you proxy? Roland, since we can't hear you, could you drop your comment on Jabber and we'll proxy into the room? Okay, so let me just, while we're waiting for Roland's comment to come up, I mean, again, to summarize, with this draft, there's an introduction of an optional field that does classification of a particular DOS denial of service type. And there's a desire to drop that into the signal draft.
Roland's comment is DOTS is not intended to be a full inter-vendor control channel. There are an infinitude of possible DDoS attack types. Different vendors use different paradigms. We should stick to signaling for now.
Okay, thanks, Roland. Konami?
One last thing is, let's take this up as a possible extension.
Okay, Konami?
Yeah, Konami Nishiko from IETF Communication. Maybe the same comment as Roland said, but yeah, so how to keep the YARN model and SIBO mapping latest with emerging DDoS attacks is a difficult question. And also, in my feeling, it is not nature to be included in the signal channel and also data channel is that kind of DDoS types. Yeah, that's a comment.
Okay, other comments?
Andrew Mortensen. I'll also lend my support for the previous comments from Konami and Roland, and also point out that there is a document defining different DOS types already in the IETF RFC 4732.
Okay, Bo, the line mic now is empty.
Okay.
Did you want to respond?
Hello. Thanks for the feedback. I got the information that we do have the definition for the DOS type in the IETF. So I will go back to check that. I just want to feedback to the Roland question that why we need that. Can you hear that? Okay.
Yes.
Roland just wants to comment that RFC 4732 is obsolete, shouldn't be used. Yeah.
Okay, Andrew?
Right, he's correct, but that is the most standardized version of the document that we have inside to work on. So the other thing is that we have discussed something like this in the past. One of the reasons we didn't do it, if I'm recalling correctly, is that the signal or the DOTS client may not actually have the full scope of the attack. It's hard to trust the DOTS client to actually be reporting accurate information in certain cases. Certainly, one of the attack types he's got up there is the CareGen amplification. That's pretty easily represented in source port in an ACL UDP 19. So there are other ways to get some of this information across.
Okay, actually, I just give a brief feedback about that. Yes, maybe the client do not have the whole information, or even the information is not fully trusted. But as we suggested, it's an optional field. It can be used as a reference, at least inside one domain. It's very important.
Hi, Andrew Mortensen again. Yes, I agree. I'm also supporting the idea of moving this beyond the current signaling draft.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bo. Other comments? Okay, so thank you for that. I mean, what we're hearing with the multiple kind of presentations we had is we're going to have to figure out what to do with extensions and how to talk about them in parallel to advancing the signal draft. So that's a marker for something we need to resolve as a working group. Okay, so next up on the agenda is the use case conversation. So Daniel.
Hi, everyone. So the use case. So actually, in the front page, there's 15, version 15, but I think by the time I was writing the presentation, while I was writing the presentation, another version came out. Yeah, 16. So in the IETF 101 in London, we had a commitment from the co-author to put a version that is going to be ready for working group last call into a month. And I think that's what we achieved our goal. So that's fine. We had very few comments from version 12 to the working group last call, but since the working group last call had been started, it raised a lot of questions, a lot of comments and reviews. So the latest we had was version 16, just published today. I think we are really in a state where we are polishing the drafts now. So, well, I believe from version 10 to 11, we had a major refactoring. Nothing controversial. Most of the text has been just reused and displaced at different places. So the main change is that we reduces the number of use cases from the initial number to 3 use cases. So that's all. So I think now it's almost ready to be shipped to the ISG or to be sent to the AD. And thank you for all the reviews.
Okay. So Daniel, thank you for all the rapid revisions. So Frank and I need to kind of take a look at, given many of these revisions were made this week, we have not had a chance to kind of review the things, certainly in the last 2 days. It looks like many of the issues kind of were closed. It's likely our feeling that we will not need another working group last call. This is really a matter of kind of closing those issues, and we believe it will likely be ready to submit for shepherding. We just want to take one more kind of look before that. But from your perspective, you are done. There are no more edits to kind of process. You believe all feedback has been covered.
Yeah, that's my feeling. But if you disagree, raise that on the mailing list.
Okay. And so let's just kind of do a final check. Everyone feels like their comments have been addressed. Anyone dissenting? Anyone else have any other comments to add into the use case document? There's been robust discussion, so. Okay, very good. Thank you for all that iteration, and thank you for the mailing list for responding back with all of that. Okay.
Thank you.
Daniel, thanks for preparing that. All right, so let's do, we had actually quite a lot of time for open mic. So if there are things folks would like to raise, by all means, come on up while we prepare the wrap up. No? Okay. Then let me pull up the wrap up slides here. I do have to leave full screen. All right. I think that's it. Okay, so we did a bunch of discussion about where to take the draft. So I have updated the table. So on requirements, we have the Shepherd write-up. That's going to be going to our AD. With the architecture draft, there's one more revision to do ready about mid-August. And we're going to start a working group last call then likely kind of late August. I see head nodding from the architecture team, so that's good. With use cases, that text is actually incorrect. The -15 is the last version. We believe that covers everything that needs to get done. The chairs are going to make sure that it looks like everything is closed, and if it is, we're going to go to kind of to the Shepherd review. If not, we may force another rev. We talked about the signal draft. There's going to be one more revision to 22, and then we're going to go second working group last call, or did I not write that down right, Ned? Do we go second working group last call with -21?
Yes.
Okay, so we go second working group last call with -21. Thank you for that clarification. And then with the data channel, we at least know about the fragmentation issue, so that's going to take a revision to -18. And that's going to get us to working group last call in the September timeframe. And that is our whole stack of documents. And then we noted that we need to further a conversation relative to kind of extensions and make sure it's clearly known how to proceed there. And we're going to take that to the mailing list. Okay, so anything wrong with that voiceover in terms of kind of dates? We have some time. I see Kanami approaching, please.
Yeah, Kanami from IETF Communications. So I'd like to hear from the room about the feelings about the DOTS second step. So maybe those working group items are almost stable. And then coming IETF, we will do the hackathon or interop testing with more implementations. Then is it timing for the thinking about the enhancement of the kind of DOTS step 1 that is specified in this document, and then we can proceed to the step 2, I think. So how about what do we think about okay, now it's a timing for the making new draft about making new working group item draft for the.
Yeah, yes, I do agree with that. I think that it's time that we think about the adding explicit item into the charter so that we have something which is official in terms of the item of interest of the working group. In the past we have presented the DOTS server discovery discussions, multi-homing and so on. I would like that we revive all these discussions so that they can be considered by the working group. This is only examples, but I think that there is a room for more enhancement and more work for the DOTS working group. If that discussion can happen, that would be really great.
Remembering, of course, that some of this may take rechartering, and that's a conversation kind of with the AD and the community writ large, with that caveat, because Ben was giving me that look. Yeah.
Hi, Andrew Mortensen. Yeah, one of the things that is mentioned in the use cases, but has not necessarily been treated here, is the case where I think the ITP is actually signaling downstream to the enterprise to say, you're the source of an attack, you need to block closer to it. And we haven't seen any of that treated.
Other thoughts on what next-gen DOTS would look like that we want to talk about here? Going once, going twice. Okay. Oh, I see Roland coming into the queue. Roland, the floor is yours. Oh, Roland, if you're speaking, we don't hear you. I assume you are jabbering, and our Jabber scribe will hopefully bring that up for us. We appreciate that. And on the screen, I just flashed up the edits folks made in our conversation about next steps with the current draft. So this one should be correct now. If it is not, please correct me. This is what we're going to enter into the minutes. And milestones.
Roland's comment is more of the extension stuff. That's what I'd really like to see. More of the things we talked about as possible extensions.
Ben Kadek, just noting, since you asked for corrections, the -16 of the use cases document was published earlier today.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, going once, going twice. Thank you for coming. We'll see everyone on the mailing list, continue the conversations, and I thank everyone for their hard work to getting us this close to a lot of working group last calls.